Today we are up at Centennial Hills with Lotus. She is a dear friend and client of mine, and I'm so excited to share her story. One of my favorite things about what I do is helping people bring their dreams to fruition and build and grow their wealth and achieve the American dream. And Lotus is a prime example of this because she is both a woman and a minority and an immigrant, and her story is super inspirational, which is why I thought this would be the perfect way to kick off this series and share for all the aspiring and new entrepreneurs of what you should do if you want to be successful like Lotus. So Lotus, can you tell me a little bit about your origin story? Because I feel like it's like every superhero has their origin story and every successful entrepreneur does as well. And yours is just so inspirational, how you immigrated here, the milestones along your journey, and what ultimately inspired and led you to build this business from the ground up.
Oh, it's such an amazing question to start with because that's where everything started, right? I was 17. I basically told my family, which is like I live in a really big joint family, that I want to go to America. I want to continue my studies there. First person in my family, my extended family, like anybody I knew to even think of coming to America or ever came to America, so it was not like I had this family support or anything, I had to fight for it, obviously, because it was, when somebody comes with something new, something new ideas, and the first one to do it, there's always a struggle. I came here when I was 17, I went to Minnesota State, and then I graduated, and after that I came to Vegas, and that's when I started my journey with hospitality industry. So I basically worked in every position imaginable in the hospitality industry, all the major hotels on the strip, all the local restaurants, being bartending, serving, management, every possible position you can imagine.
You mentioned that you had initially come to America to go to school, but you knew that you always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So do you think that helped you? Do you have any regrets about going to school, or what did you learn from that?
Oh, regrets, none. The 4 years of my college was the best time of my life, fun way, educational way, everything. Because you might not study about what you're going to do in your professional field, but you study behaviors, you study people, you study how to deal with different kinds of people. I think college has really taught me that, because you have so many different kinds of friends from different backgrounds, especially me as being an international student. Yeah. I got to learn about a lot of different international communities. And that actually gave me this time to learn about America. If I had come here and directly gotten into business, it wouldn't be as a smooth ride as it is right now. Like my accent was different. We were actually not even allowed to speak our own language. We had to speak English. Yeah. We would be fined if we spoke our own language, anything other than English. So, and also, all the movies, Hollywood movies helps. I grew up watching American Pie and Friends, so that really helps.
What inspired you to make the shift and take that leap of faith to go out on your own, build your own business, and how did you get started in it? How did you fund your business? What was the beginning like? Can you walk me through those first few months?
So I think I've worked in the hospitality and the casino scene for about 15 years by now, about in 2018, when I finally decided to quit. Because I always knew that I had to go out and start on my own at one point. And coffee shop or a cafe seemed like a very good idea, because as much as I knew a lot of things about business, but there's so many things I didn't know about the business too, right? So I didn't want to open a restaurant or anything like that. I wanted to see how, I wanted to test out my skills, how even learn basically. Yeah. So, as far as the funding and everything goes, I was lucky enough to get, family support and, my savings and whatnot, and I had to take out any loans or anything like that. So I started my business very testing. I was testing myself, can I do it? It's because, like you said, as an immigrant and everything, it's so different for me, than anybody else. So testing out the waters, but I was always, I always 100% knew that I would make it work. It might not work, but I will do anything I have to do to make it work. So open the business. It wasn't easy, you're learning a lot of things, you're learning about licensing, permitting, and all that new stuff, right? Opened finally in 2019, November of 2019, 3 months, and then COVID hit. So now it's the situation that no one has ever dealt with before. We don't know what to do. But so it was a lot of hustle, obviously, right? We shut down, for about 2 months because I didn't know what to do. At that point, it was either give up, or because I've already spent all my money. So I was like, I knew for myself I wasn't gonna give up. Or like another option was like just go with the winds and do what needs to be done. And that's exactly what I did. Like I had to improvise on a lot of things. I don't think we opened back up again, but it was a lot of hustle, a lot of changing things, a lot of changing system. And I'm sure all the food industry people had to do that the same way, but it was a little extra hard for me because I was learning, doing and changing everything at once. It's good to have all the support of the friends, all the support of the family, because that was the time I really needed that. Yeah. So with all that in hand, it was, sometimes I see the COVID situation as a blessing to my business sometimes, because now Coffee Religion is so much more than I had initially planned to be. Because if it wasn't for the situation, I would have improvised on a lot of things. I would have came up with a lot of new ideas and everything. But you know how they say situation is like the best, test of people.
What's an example of a new idea you came up with?
So the challenge, I had to tweak the menu so that the menu is more deliverable, because it was all about delivering and, being able to like just wrap it in a box and send it off, right? And also afternoon tea, which was a big, huge success, right? It came as a result of COVID too, because I wouldn't have thought of doing that because initially it was just a coffee shop concept, but afternoon tea was a result of all the free time I had because of COVID and what I could do to bring people together. I had to learn how to keep the business running with like minimal revenue coming in, because with COVID, not a lot of people were going out, so how to control my expenses, how to control my labor, how to control my, how to make sure that my margins are profitable. All those things I think I pretty much learned during the COVID, like how I can look forward to making that happen.
So Lotus, you mentioned a little bit about the revenue and how that's really important as a business to focus on bringing that up. Do you mind sharing some of the strategies you utilize to continuously increase your revenue, which is absolutely necessary for business success? And also, do you mind sharing some of the ballpark numbers of like, what has been your highest revenue, whether it's month or year, that you can share?
Sure, yeah. So as far as the revenue increasing, it all depends on the goal you have set. Every business entrepreneur should be, or they should be, like setting up some kind of goals, like what kind of revenue increase you want to see. Because if you don't have set a certain goal, how do you know what you're going to do to reach those goals, right? So for me personally, I set up the goal of 10% to 30% increase every month.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, every month. So that could be like very fractional increase, but that helps you increase your annual goal, right? 10% is your SMART goal increase that you shoot for. That is something that you have to hit, because so now you're going to start doing things that will increase your revenue annually by 10%, and then your ambitious goal is a 30%, that would be the numbers you should be shooting for. So being that, like, depending on the location, like if they're like, because there are always ups and downs businesses, economy, people, money, anything could make that traffic go up and down, so revenue go up and down. If you're looking at weekly or monthly, that, and all of that affects your quarterly revenue reports, right? Which ultimately affects your annual revenue report. So once you see that going down, I always try to like, okay, let's do some kind of promotion. Let's do something. But then all this has to be basically planned out in like a year, like a quarter in advance. You have to have your plans. Like what I'm doing for this next quarter, the first quarter of 2024, I have those plans all set in place, so that it can just be applied. Because sometimes it can be really too late when you're thinking of some promotions. If business owners aren't doing it already, I would recommend them to like at least plan quarterly, if not annually. Like some entrepreneurs, they go and do the whole annual thing. Like, okay, 2024, our target is this for this quarter, target that's for this quarter, and then we're doing this kind of promotion for this quarter, this kind of promotion for this quarter. So the gist of it is that you always have to shoot for a 10% increase annually, at the least, for sure. Yeah, and then you do the activities that will get you there. Maybe you're starting your, catering, promotions, or maybe you're going to the offices to offer all these, boxes, or, So you should already have your plan set in place. If it's a holiday season, what are you doing for holiday season? And this, trust me, I think it was my third year or so I learned this. So, it takes time. to know and work through these things, but it is definitely helpful to plan ahead of time. And then you'll be able to hit those goals. Have a goal, plan ahead of time, and then hit those goals.
Is there a methodology that you use to plan your quarterly goals, or can you give an example of them?
P&L is definitely helpful. You know, from there you're going to see your revenues and your net profit, all your expenses, where everything is going. And I think every entrepreneur should, every business owner should have their accountant or CPA doing these, because it's easy for them, but it's not easy for everybody. You know, it could take a lot of our time if we start doing it on our own. So from the get-go, I've had a bookkeeper and accountant who takes care of these things. So, because my job as an entrepreneur, an entrepreneur's job should be just looking at those and seeing like, okay, what's not working, where I'm spending too much, rather than spending time on actually generating those, because it's very, very time consuming. And I know for a fact, because I've tried it, I'm like, I'm never gonna do that again, you know? But as far as the keeping track and everything, so obviously your reports you generate from every day, your POS system is very helpful. It's so handy these days, you know, you can get your reports in the palm of your hand, right? Generate at any time. You have to follow certain kind of KPIs for sure, like, you know, all the key performance indicators, right? They're like, okay, what is working, what's not working, you know? Another lesson I've learned is like never do, or like, you know, never start anything, like multiple things at the same time. Then you will never be able to get, okay, what's working and what's not. I've learned that the really hard way, because it was in one of my locations, I started different marketing system, different POS, and you know, like different couple of things at the same time. I still regret it till this day, because something didn't work and I couldn't figure out what didn't work. Oh my God, that's why, you know, entrepreneurship is crazy. It's like you learn by doing sometimes. You know, it's a lot of times you learn by doing it. And then the good thing about it is once you do it, once you make a mistake, you won't do it ever again, you know. But hopefully this helps all the business owners out there. Never make any changes, multiple changes at the same time.
Drives the revenue for you, or is marketing wise, or what has been the most successful?
Revenue wise, okay, so there are a lot of factors. Marketing is it's must. You can never not budget your money for marketing. You have to stay on top of marketing, right? But like there's so many different ways to market. Like, are you doing social media? Are you doing Yelp? Are you doing, you know, for food business anyways, are you doing Google SEOs? Are you doing promos? There's so many, you know, like I don't think anyone prints out the coupons anymore, but are you doing like, maybe you're doing loyalty program, you know, like coupons, like routinely auto sending out coupons through your loyalty program to your customers. That definitely gets people in a lot. But for me, I would like, you always have to know that it always costs more to get new customer than retaining the one you have. You know, so you always want to make sure you're retaining your customers. And for that, your operations have to be good, right? It all comes down to like, how are you dealing with your customers? How are your staff trained? What kind of systems and processes you follow, you know? So, but that's what I think everyone should shoot for anyways. Like, you want to keep your customers. It's gonna be way cheaper than trying to get a new customer, like, you know, so that's the best business advice I got anyways when
I've heard that a lot, and I definitely agree.
Started.
It's definitely better to keep, but I guess in the beginning then, how did you get your initial customers?
So in the beginning, let me try to remember this. In the beginning, obviously I had no brand recognition yet. It was a very new concept. And in a very hole in the wall place too. The location was insanely hard. It's still hard, you know, because anytime the location is not in the traffic or like, you know, foot traffic area, you have to work extra hard. You have to do things in marketing, or you have to do some exceptional thing, go viral or something, you know, to get it going. So with my first location in Charleston, I can definitely say the location was sincere, like it's very, very challenging. But there are like certain things like the word of mouth, you know, even though it's an ancient concept, it is such a powerful thing. You know, it's so powerful, because if you are able to impress somebody, if someone's genuinely impressed by what you're serving and how you're serving it, they will tell your friends, you know, and their friends will tell their friends. It's like, and at that time, it just becomes a matter of waiting. I think that's what happened in Charleston. In about a month period of time, the first month was empty, right? It was like, we're still trying to do things and figure things out. After this, once the second month, they were already starting to see the traffic. It was like, neighborhoods were there, people were telling other people, so that definitely helped. And another thing I did was, before I even opened the business, it took me about a year because I built everything from the ground up. For a year before I even opened, I had my Instagram going, so the business page was already there. So I was already in the media, the Yelp page, and all. I think the main thing was the Instagram. That was really helpful because the name was already out there. We hadn't opened yet, but we had already started with the communicating with people in the neighborhoods, and like we're in the Charleston area, so we were like communicating with all the medical, places and everything. So that did help.
The social media.
The social media, yeah.
I think that's how I initially found you guys too.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I mean, there is no denying it. In this day and age, you have to be present in social media. It's so important.
Yeah.
Especially for food. Instagram is a must.
Oh,
Yeah.
And you mentioned the location on the first location was a challenge. Was that your biggest challenge in your first one? And what were the challenges with your second location? Like, were they different?
Oh, they were so different, because the first location was challenging because of the location itself, because of the brand being so new, it was such a new concept. Because the COVID hit, that was a major one. So those were the three main challenges. But then we were never in the negative, as far as the revenue goes.
Oh, wow.
I was always able to control the labor.
Even your first location?
Even the first location. I think I never went on red, never negative.
Oh, wow.
We were breaking even up until the COVID cleared. So once the COVID was like, okay, all the mandate and and everything was cleared, like the social distancing and everything, we were already profitable. So it was.
Oh, wow. How many months did it take you to get to profitability?
I would say we opened. So we opened November 2019, right? And then 2020 whole year was just break even, because not until 2021 of May, I think, the social mandate and everything was really, the whole year was pretty much just break even. We were just trying to keep the doors open. Because we were going through COVID, just keep our expenses low and still keep the doors open, still have some kind of revenue coming in, and just hold on, because the main goal over there was not closing, nobody was coming in. Moving on to next year, all the mandates lifted up. 2021, just the beginning already, we were super profitable already. Okay. Yeah. And that's what led to this one opening in 2022, right? So when this one opened, it was a completely different situation though, because our brand had already been proven, our concept had been proven, the brand recognition was already there. We had things to back us up with the reviews and everything. So when this opened, we never had, from day one, it was already profitable. We never had any problem of customers coming in or not, because this was highly anticipated. Like northwest side of town did not have much to offer, so this was definitely anticipated. From day one, it was great. I think the biggest challenge in this location was learning how to scale. What I've learned from being in the business is the first couple of years is when you're tweaking your menus, when you're figuring out what works, what doesn't work, how much pricing wise, margin wise, you're finessing your menu, we're finessing your systems and processes. Okay, what are the rules and regulations for a hiring process, or your protocols, your employee handbook and everything. After that comes your after the systems and processes that you develop for the business, after that comes your team. Like, what kind of team are you building? What are their roles gonna be? How are they defined? I'm still working on that. Trust me. It's like endless. It needs an endless updating. Obviously, right? Depending like every quarter. But then you're finessing, basically working in the business, moving on to your systems and processes and making the regulations or handbooks and everything, moving on to your team, building a right team, and then comes your scaling, So I guess I would say now I'm at the stage where the scaling is happening. Yeah, good. But it takes a lot to get there though. Like, oh my God, I learned so many lessons along the way. Like, the hardest part was the COVID happening, honestly. Like with the COVID, revenue not coming in, how to deal with that, the challenges that came with that. And that wasn't enough. We were super busy after that happened, but then the employee shortage happened, the labor shortage happened the whole year. I've never worked that hard in my whole entire life, because I just couldn't find people to work. So that was another problem, had to deal with. Even after that, then we opened this location. Like, I had to learn about people. That is the biggest challenge for me, at least, understanding people as it is for any business. Because you can always learn the skills, you can always learn the systems and process. People are the most complicated part, right? Once you're able to know how to manage people, how to understand people, you will do good in business.
What do you think has been your biggest accomplishment or success in business?
The way we're being received so well by the customers, that is definitely the biggest accomplishment. Yeah, it beats everything. It beats all the, the noise, all the profits, anything, because the ultimate goal of any business should be making an impact, not making net profit, right? So, when I think of it like that, the way, even in a very small way, making an impact, making a positive impact in people's life, being received really well by customers, they're really actually, coffee can make a big difference in people's life, them feeling like, okay, they have to get their coffee from here. That is the biggest, achievement I can ever think of. But obviously there are a lot more, being able to have employees, and helping them through. Another thing, personally, doing something different from what my family did, and still coming out as a successful entrepreneur, that's definitely another one of mine personally, so, and also proving to myself that, it doesn't matter where you come from, or it doesn't matter when you come in, it doesn't have the time frame, against all the times and odds and against all the places, you can still make it, because, thinking about how I came from a completely different country, when I was so young, and also navigating through all the COVID and all the insane, the economy and everything, you can still make it if you put your mind to it, and just think of failure as lessons, you can make it. So that has definitely been big for me as well, personally, yeah.
I love that you share that, because I think that's, for me too, that's one of the biggest things, is cultivating community and connections is huge, and that's the thing I think that brings the most value to people, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Right, it really is, what kind of impact you're making, and it could be any kind of impact, it could be you're in charity, or you're helping the other business owners, you're doing something, right? Because I don't know, I just honestly feel like money gives you freedom, but it doesn't give you satisfaction, so for that you would definitely have to do something to make an impact that you think is what you want, yeah.
What financial advice would you have for aspiring entrepreneurs in terms of managing profitability and revenue? Can you share a little bit about percentages of what's your highest line item expense, and what percentage do you spend on rent or payroll or marketing, and how do you manage that?
One thing I can definitely say with confidence is you learn about all these things when you're actually in the pickle, it doesn't matter what you plan for, it doesn't matter what your business plan says, things will always go differently. You will learn your numbers after you're already in it, but so far it took me a while to learn it too. You actually have to do it and start making money and be in the thing to actually learn, okay, how much it costs, or how much profit am I making, or things like that, right? But for me, I would say the biggest expense would be, as in any hospitality industry, is the labor. Another thing that a lot of people or a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about is the taxes. Taxes, it's you have so many different kinds of taxes. It took me by surprise when I had to pay the first time, Sales tax is just very common, but then you have payroll taxes, unemployment taxes, you have, all the permitting and licensing, all these definitely add up, right? So labor, I know my labor is 25% to 30%, it's under 30%. And for taxes, about 10%. That's very painful, I know. But you have your materials, your supplies. You have so many different things. It takes a whole village to basically run a food business.
And what are the margins on profit-wise in a food business typically?
So
the range, is it?
Food business profit margins very low, generally speaking. But it's all about how you manage things as well, right? We consistently net profit an average about 20%, which is huge for food business. But then I know that is because I've always known from the very beginning, okay, I gotta keep my menu small. I cannot have a lot of different things coming in because it's all cutting into unnecessary, expenses. The labors always needs to be washed, and everything, right? But the big thing is, what I do recommend all the entrepreneurs is just don't have 50 things on the menu. That really kills the profit margin. It's like,
So
keep it simple. Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, obviously customers want variety, right? But then you have to do what's right for the business too. Because you're not running a business if it's not profitable, right? So how do you stay profitable though? You have to make sure you're keeping eye on all the numbers. Sometimes you'll be paying things on, you'll get a bill and you're paying things on you don't even know, or your vendors are charging too much. So you definitely have to keep an eye on your monthly P&Ls, your statements. It's a whole full-time work in itself. No, I'm not even kidding, So I do talk to my accountant on a regular basis just for this matter, okay, if any new expenses come up, do let me know. You have to be in a complete, awareness of what is happening. Doesn't matter small or big or one-time charges or recurring charges. It really, because when you're a small business, all of this really add up. But the main things, as long you have to keep up with the taxes, right? You have to make sure labor is managed well, and it's also about how are you utilizing your labor though. Instead of hiring more and more people, maybe the skill can be taught in so it can be leveraged. That's another way. But keeping the menu small, that is, I think, a big thing for a food business. If you're a restaurant owner and you have 100 things on the item, that's just, it's going to be so hard to keep up with the food cost even, because, you have to have food costs of every item to understand if a certain item is making money any given month, right? Now, if you have 100 things on the menu, you're building food costs for every 100 things, variations for all those 100 things, so it'll be 1,000 things at the end of it, and it's really hard to keep updating it, So I would say small menu.
And you've managed to not only survive the pandemic and survive past what most small businesses do, but thrive and expand. This is your second location. You just signed a lease for your third location. So what do you think is a common mistake that entrepreneurs make that you haven't?
I think I've made all kinds of mistakes.
But what allowed you to thrive? What are some common mistakes you would say if you're speaking with an aspiring or new entrepreneur? Don't do these things.
Whatever business you're getting into, if you're starting something, creating something, you have to know ins and out of the business. I would have never gotten a coffee business or a hospitality business if I didn't have the background for it.
Oh, you had 15 years of experience.
So I knew for sure, I knew how to handle every situation that might come, whether it could be something customer complaint or building the systems of even for employee site worksheets. So, so their times are being used efficiently, right? So that's a very simple way of failing, I would say, if you're not prepared, if you don't have enough research. What you do learn after you've already opened business is the other bigger things, okay, how do you do all the licensing, or how do you do the business aspect, business owner aspect of it. But I would say at the very minimum, know the business you're getting into, because you have to know anything or everything to teach people how to do it your way, So that would be one thing. Definitely know the kind of business you're getting into. And also another thing would be just being present, at least for the first 2 years, because nobody knows your business more than you do. And again, like I said, if you're a small business owner, if you're an ownership level, that's important, right? Even for you to understand how everything works, what doesn't work. So being present doesn't mean you have to be working behind the counters all the time, but knowing what's happening at all times, so that's important for the first 2 years. And after that, you have, all the people who takes care of the business, who runs it for you. But 2 years is such a must time for you to learn everything about the business and create the systems and everything for other people to follow. Obviously you can never scale if you, because if you're just bringing people, not building system, because the goal should always be obviously to not replace, not train people, but have systems and like, just have people adapt to the systems, right? That's the ultimate goal. But as far as these, suggesting all the entrepreneurs, you really have to know, research before you get into it, and then be present, just know what's going on, and also there's so many things, and also be ready for whatever may come, because I got hit by COVID, right? So this is actually very important, like what kind of people you're surrounded with. When COVID hit, if I didn't have support of my family and my friends who would just come when I needed help, it probably wouldn't have happened, Yeah. So it's also important, like what kind of people you're surrounded with, what kind of help you would get, what kind of backup plan you do have, what kind of second backup plan you do have, who knows what's gonna happen. But
and I love that you share that, because I think a lot of people, they're afraid to share that authentically, and that it takes a village, right? And it takes a community and a support system.
Yeah.
And I think that's a common misconception of like, I have to go on this journey alone, or I can't ask for help, or and I know I've been guilty of that too, where I'm like, I can do everything myself, but
same here. Yeah. But then you realize that hey, it's not like
asking.
Yeah, when you're building something that's worth it, that's gonna be that you have goal for, you need help. You need people who share the same vision as you. You need family and friends, because who is gonna help you without getting paid? You know what I mean?
Yeah. In order to really grow and scale, you need to remove yourself and start working on the business. But I feel like I've worked with so many entrepreneurs, some 5, 10, 15 years into their journey, and a lot of them aren't where you are in only 4 years, and it seems like a long time, but it's also short in like the journey of entrepreneurship. So what do you think like helped with your mindset or your motivation to create these systems?
Yeah, it's super simple, like just in a mathematical way. How much do you make in a year? Deduce that to how much you make in an hour. I value my time at $500 an hour. If I can hire someone to do the job for way less than that, I will always do that. Every hour I spend at work, I'm losing $500 is how I mark myself. Yeah. So anytime I can get someone to do the work $20 an hour, $30, I'll always hire someone. And that's about it. It's so super simple, like how much your potential of making annually, deducing that to an hour, and just like figuring out like, okay, can I get someone to do that job for $500, less than $500 an hour? And the answer is usually yes. As an entrepreneur, your value is somewhere else, where you can always be doing more, making more, growing more than actually doing the job that you've already capped in. These are the skills that you already know and you've already implemented, you've already created systems for it. Teach somebody else, tap into the, have somebody else tap into the system the right way, and the system will keep running itself, but you can't be the system itself. Yeah. You rather spend your time creating newer systems to generate more revenue, but you never want to be behind the bars. If your plan is to expand. Now, different entrepreneurs, different business owners have different goals, right? Some of them just want to have one shop, have the quality of life, just work, 6-8 hours, go home, don't want to expand, and that's totally fine. But, if your plan is to ever expand and scale and eventually do franchises or a corporation or anything, then you definitely have to remove yourself out of the actual work environment. Yes.
So what is your plan? Is that your plan?
For the longest time, I didn't know what I wanted.
Oh, wow.
So that is the biggest mistake anyone could make too. If you don't know what you want, how are you ever going to get there?
Yeah.
But for my plan, I don't know if I can say that to you just yet, because you never want to say your plan until it's like sealed, But I can safely say that I know what my plan is now, and I'm working towards it. Okay. Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time today. Are there any last words or any last piece of advice that you would give for aspiring or new entrepreneurs?
New entrepreneurs, don't be scared of the hustle. You know, that's number one. Like, there is literally no shortcut to this. God knows I've made so many mistakes. I've learned so many things from mistakes, and there's really no shortcut to it. You have to literally be in the grinds to know it, you know?
So you've basically worked in every position that you
Yeah.
hired for.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess the thing is, like, if you don't know how your positions work, you'll never be able to create systems for it. You know, you'll never be able to refine it eventually, and you'll never be able to have right people on right places eventually, right? That is also another really important thing, right? Sometimes business owners, I have made so many times the mistake of having right people in wrong positions, you know, so that's also very important, like knowing the personality of a person, or like the character of the person, having them on the right position, you know, knowing their profile, like the disc profile and things like that, and putting them in the right position where they will excel versus putting them in the wrong position where they will miserably fail, even though they're so good at work, you know, but you just have them in the wrong position. That happens a lot of time too. And I've also learned to hire for personality, not for skills. Because skills you can always teach, but personality you cannot teach. I will always hire a person for their personality and their character and their loyalty versus their skill. Like, I can always teach them.
I've heard that from a lot of entrepreneurs.
It is 100%
character
true.
is so much more important than technical skill.
Absolutely. Skill you can teach any time, but you know, how to talk to people, how to be personable, how to be friendly, how to be loyal, like how to be nice to your in your environment, being nice to coworkers, that's something you cannot teach. Yeah, I will always hire a person who has zero skill, but super fantastic personality. Absolutely. I've learned from my mistakes. Yes.
That's great advice. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah, this is fun.